What's up, everybody? I'm Wyatt,
I'm Corey.
and welcome to GO-GO-GODZILLA's first bonus episode, where today we're covering Kong Skull Island.
That's right. We figured, we're already covering the Legendary series. This goddamn ape's already in 2 of these movies, so we figured we might as well complete the whole set and go ahead and cover this movie. It's not going to be a part of the official ranking. It's just kind of a fun, I guess, video to do. And with that, we're going to go ahead and follow the same formula that we have been, kind of give our initial thoughts, feelings, and history with the movie. So Wyatt, why don't you open this sumbitch up?
Yeah, so I guess as far as history with the movie, I don't really remember much about like the lead up to it. I know I was excited about it. I remember going to the theater to see it, but truthfully, I hadn't watched it since that initial viewing in the theater. I watched it again last night, and this is one of my favorite kaiju movies. I knew I liked it, but I don't think I. Oh my god!
Anyways, Wyatt, picking up where we left off, what are your thoughts about the movie?
Yeah, so I kind of went over the history, or my personal history with it, being that I didn't really remember too much of it, but after watching it again last night, I really think this is one of my favorite kaiju movies.
Yeah.
I really, really fucking like this movie.
Yeah. Kind of very similar is like I saw it once in the theaters, and I remember having a great time in the theater, loving it. And then not really thinking about it very much afterwards until then. Like I actually picked it up at like Walmart in like the $5 Blu-ray bin, and then watched it again and was totally like it felt totally blew my mind, and I forgot how good it was, and definitely has definitely one of my favorite, probably my favorite Kong movie of all the ones I've seen so far, and I got my Legendary series. I know. It's close. It's close is what I'm going to say.
I was thinking that while I was watching it, like near the end of it, I was like, it's kind of a good thing this isn't part of our official ranking, because like this is a King Kong movie, and I really, really, really like this movie, so it might be my favorite Legendary movie.
I can't. It's one of those things I can't fault anybody for feeling that way. It's not mine. I have decided it's decidedly not mine, just because it doesn't hit. I don't know. It's nostalgia. Like I said, I'm letting my nostalgia show through. I'm letting my bias for these movies show through. And so I'm letting bias kind of went out for King of the Monsters in this one. But man, I love this movie. So.
Yeah. It's super good. Super good.
And with that, we're going to start getting to the actual plot of the movie, some specific scenes and spoilery thoughts about the film. Wyatt, why don't you start us off? What do you think about this monkey?
Well, the way you phrased that, what you think about this monkey, that makes me think of a line that cracked me up in this movie when I forget the soldier's name, but he's like, "Is that a monkey?" I don't know why, but I put that in my notes because it cracked me up. I enjoyed that quite a bit. I like there's like I like the humor in this movie. Like it's not like too in your face, but it's I think it's done well.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say this right now. This is by far the best cast.
110%
in the Legendary series so far.
Yeah.
Like everybody is like, there are maybe 2 characters I could do without in this whole movie. And like, but everybody is like funny. There's like but different kinds of humor, and then everybody are playing like their different roles to like really like the soldiers in this movie are super like have a lot of really good chemistry. They do definitely feel like they've been hanging around each other quite a bit. Samuel L. Jackson, just to give him the shout out, is playing. We talked about Charles Dane and King of the Monster playing a great villain. Samuel L. Jackson is the villain of all villains in this movie. He's just an angry, hateful son of a bitch, and it's the best. So
But the United States Army is not an irresponsible father, so they gave us wings of white hot, old rolled Pennsylvania steel. Guaranteed not to melt.
Sam Jackson's great. I love like you can kind of understand why he's so shitty, because it's like he's a war hero. Like he's kind of lost without a fight, and like Kong is like the ultimate fight for him, and like it's not just a fight, but it's revenge too.
Yeah, and
So
yeah, I do kind of actually love the theme with him of like it feels like at a certain point like because he ends up I guess getting into the actual plot of it really quickly. He ends up kind of getting this vendetta with Kong because Kong ends up in one of the greatest scenes in movie history ever, kills a lot of his soldiers, and it's kind of at first it starts out as this kind of revenge thing, but I feel like as the movie progresses, you kind of start to pick up on it's not so much a revenge thing of like he just feels like he's at home with war and without a soldier without a war or a mission he's just in search of that next war and mission. So like and I think that's actually a fairly complex character.
yeah,
Uh, for this kind of movie,
mm-hmm.
especially with this legendary series so far.
Yeah, and like something I thought about while watching this movie last night is like, had this movie just been like a movie about these characters on an island,
Mm-hmm.
no monsters at all, I would have been very entertained to see that story unfold because they're all just they're interesting and like their stories are kind of complex and unique and there's differing points of view and
Mm-hmm.
I just would have been pretty entertained with that cast of characters for
Yeah,
a movie or a series or whatever But it being in a monster movie is great too. It's like we've said
yeah,
before, it's the best cast of characters for the Legendary series, and that's pretty. It's exciting to go back and watch these guys.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
Tom Hiddleston's great.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome. Well, really? Actually, I'm sorry. I gotta disagree.
Really?
When I say there's two characters I could do absolutely without, I think this movie can lose Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson and not lose a step
Really?
because they're the most like I don't know. I just feel like there's I don't know what it is about they're the two that they feel like the most from the other movies is the best way I can put it of like they don't ruin the movie, they don't take away any of my enjoyment at all, but like I don't know, for some reason the whole time it's just they feel so out of place with everybody else in that cast,
Right.
especially just because like I don't know, there's just something about it, like even when it's just them them two, the young guy Slivsky or whatever I think it is. I'm probably way off with that. And then John C. Riley, the most chemistry or the most entertaining part from those scenes are the young guy and John C. Riley arguing.
Yeah.
And those two are just kind of there.
Yeah.
Granted, I think they're probably they're supposed to be the audience of like, well, what's going on? And they have to have a sign. But like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that like Brie Larson is not one of my favorite actresses, but I liked her character being like a counterpart to like the soldiers in this way. In a way, it kind of like her and Sam Jackson kind of butted heads initially, even when they like she was getting on the ship. It started there, So I thought that was a cool dynamic. And like Tom Hiddleston's just he is one of my favorite actors. So like anything he's in, I'm pretty on board with just because I enjoy him so much. So that's exciting. His character, not the most interesting, and I don't think you're wrong. I think if those characters had not have been there, there wouldn't have been much loss to the movie. But I still enjoyed their characters. So totally see your point though. They do feel like the most like the other like the King of the Monsters cast, for example. Like they have that feel to them in a sense.
And so we talked about the cast a little bit, which obviously we love, and we'll probably talk about a few more specific moments.
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to give a shout out to, or kind of take us back to, is the opening of the movie itself. The actual like initial scene I thought was really cool. The reveal of Kong, of the American soldier and the Japanese soldier both landing on Skull Island and having the worst aim in history with that pistol, and it's a 1911. That thing, it shoots a straight line if you shoot it.
Yeah.
But anyway, and as they're fighting, we get the reveal of the man himself.
Yeah, of Kong.
And it kind of goes back to what you brought up in the last movie of the hand or something.
Yeah, it seems like there's a common theme with the legendary monsters. Like upon their initial introduction to these series, I mean, not Godzilla, but all like the Mutos even. Ghidorah is a similar fashion. Rodan does this. Kong does this. Where like it's like a shot with the two people. It's good for scale, but the hand comes up and comes down, and then the other hand, like the camera kind of follows it and comes down, and then the head shows up, in that fashion somehow or another. all those introductory scenes have been shot
Yeah.
very similarly. Which is cool, but it's just something that I've noticed. I don't know.
Yeah, and I love this one particularly, just that getting that first glimpse of like Kong
Yeah.
and seeing how just such of a mean
Yeah.
mean motherfucker he is. I love it. I remember, even that's one thing in the theater. I remember immediately being like, oh, this is them immediately. I feel like this was them immediately. Like, this is not Godzilla 2014. Like, you're in the action from the jump.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it really feels like that. That's, and I know you said you wanted to give a shout out to like the credits really quickly.
Yeah. I just, another point with the Legendary series that I've liked a lot is like how they have like the opening, like the kind of press footage, if you will, like the news clips and like the military. I don't know what the terminology would be exactly for it, but that kind of old vintage looking footage. I like that, and it kind of, I don't know, it's cool. I like the start of Monarch kind of being shown in this and stuff. And,
Yeah.
And I guess to kind of jump ship from that for a second.
Well, actually, if you don't mind, because I actually think it's really cool because it's, if you don't pay attention to them, they're just kind of cool imagery. But it's also, if you do start to clue into those scenes, like they actually do a lot to expand the lore and tell you about a lot of what's happening. In this universe at the same time. So I do really want to give it, like, in the last. In the other movies too, Godzilla X. I don't know if I get Godzilla X, if they did that.
I don't think
but King of the Monsters 2014, they both did that really well.
Yeah.
Of kind of expanding like where we're at in the universe with the credits opening, and I think it's a, especially in a, like modern movies don't really have the opening credits. So it is kind of a cool also throwback to the older, old school movies.
Yeah,
so.
And they're very much like a loaded baked potato. They're full of good stuff if you pay attention to it. So it's cool. There's little Easter eggs in it. So I really enjoy those.
Wendy's stuffs them all kinds of ways.
And as great as the credits are,
yeah,
I just want to kind of go ahead and jump to. I feel like the scenes that matter, because like, the first 30 minutes of the movie is all very much set up,
yeah,
which is what you need to get everybody to Skull Island. But I want to just pretty much jump to when we're first getting to Skull Island, and you have those the helicopters flying into the storm that is shielding Skull Island. I think this is pretty much from here on. The pacing on this is almost actually nonstop for this movie.
It's great.
It's almost the opposite of 2014 and King of the Monsters of being so up and down. Literally, this scene is introduced to you. You get them. You get that awesome line from Samuel L. Jackson, who again I think is probably the MVP of the movie. Him or John C. Reilly, who we'll definitely get into later.
Oh yes.
But his line of like, "Do you guys remember the story of Icarus?"
Yeah, that's so good.
Uncle Sam gave us like what, $16 billion of steel or whatever.
Yeah, something like metal wings that won't melt or some shit like that. But
it makes you want to be a Vietnam soldier.
It does.
It's totally awesome and leads into probably, come on, like the coolest intro, or I guess. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah. I mean, I just like the initial like seeing Kong like in the sun, like just that outline of him in the sun and how they the camera pans up and everybody's just like, what the fuck is that?
Oh yeah,
but then leading to the helicopters, it's so cool. The camera work is done. I don't know. I love that whole scene.
It's a perfect, exciting scene, like especially the way they set it up. Of like, they have they get to the island, they have the Black Sabbath going on, and that's another thing I actually want to give a real another shout out to continuously is like the music in this movie. It's so clearly the director, I forget his name off the top of my head, but like it's so clearly that he just understood this is the one time we're going to get a Vietnam Kong movie, and he put all in. I think you get CCR like 2 or 3 times. You get White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane in the bar, and then you get this scene with you have Black Sabbath Paranoid playing as like they start dropping bombs on this island, because this is where they're starting to set up Hollow Earth, and that that there's that, I guess Skull Island's a portal to something or a gateway to something. and then you get just as they're setting up everything and they're just going through like a classic Vietnam scene. You get that tree in the sky, and it's from there you get that's where you get the. Is that a monkey?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't. I thought you.
Is that a monkey?
There's so much in this scene that I do really like, and of course, if you want to cut in anytime you can. But like just the literally like Kong just wrecking house, killing motherfuckers. I love. This is actually a movie I think is served by having too many characters, because then you get to just see so many people die.
Yeah.
But you still get to keep like that core human cast to follow.
Mm-hmm. It trims the fat pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like it is a very full cast, but it trims down pretty quickly, and it continues to do so throughout the movie. So and then suddenly, very suddenly, at some points, like unexpectedly so.
Yeah, that's
So.
And and then I also love the scene of like it showcases that Kong is not just this like impenetrable, because he ends up he gets cut by the hospital the helicopter blade and like reacts to it, and I like that it kind of establishes like that Kong is not Godzilla, right? Godzilla just shows up when he senses there's danger and fights, and but that Kong is a little bit more abstract in its thought, and has a little understanding of the concept of like, I guess, learning lessons, pretty much.
Yeah.
And from here, I don't know how specific you want to get with any scenes, and if you have anything to call out, but like what I also love from here is like it is literally like something different happens in every single scene. Like after this, you also have the scene where they're walking through the forest and they get stepped on, like the dude literally gets stepped through by the spider. Like is there, I guess, anything off the top of your head that you want to like shout out?
Well, I guess like that scene specifically with the bamboo spider thing, like it's kind of
it's terrifying.
It is. It made me kind of feel like we're like the Peter Jackson King Kong movie. Like it's pretty just brutal in its display. Like, but it's cool. Like it's a little haunting at the same time, But aside from that, one thing that I do like a lot is when they're talking about the history of Kong and Skull Island there with the Iwi people.
Yeah.
And like the story is told through not cave paintings, but the paintings done on the pillars.
The pillars.
And it shifts to each picture, as they're talking about it. I think that's so cool. I really enjoyed that.
And I love that. That's such a video game moment.
It is.
I feel like I feel like you're the main character or whatever walking through, which actually like the director, it's gonna kill me that I can't remember his name. I want to say like Jordan Voight or something like that.
Yeah, we just talked about
this, but he's actually set to direct and you can totally like tell he's set to direct Metal Gear Solid. So definitely a guy who like knows his video games.
Yeah.
And he actually even named the boat that they ended up sailing out on called Gray Fox, after a character from Metal Gear Solid. So that's a really cool shout out. And then I actually really quickly, something cool that I want to talk about the spider scene of like, I actually think that's a reference to I'm like 90% sure it's a reference to like with the original King Kong, there was actually a deleted scene of them falling into a spider pit and fighting this giant spider.
Really?
Yeah. But like it was before they knew about like film preservation and stuff like that. So like they literally like cut it out of the film physically and destroyed it, because they were just like, whatever, it doesn't matter. And like all they have is the evidence of like one like still of a giant spider in that movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so that's why like if you ever actually watch Peter Jackson's King Kong, he included that scene as a reference back to that, and that's why I also think this is kind of a little reference. I don't know for sure.
I mean, I could see it because Kong does fight, like he does fight a giant squid in this movie, which I forget which older King Kong movie, but there is a giant squid.
So it's not. It's Godzilla. It's the original Godzilla
versus King
Kong.
Okay.
Where he like he fights in a very similar manner. I think it's like an octopus squid thing, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking that was another thing I was thinking of too.
Yeah, and then like Brie Larson's character definitely serves as like the damsel. That Kong is maybe not infatuated with, but like has some kind of a connection with.
Yeah.
So there's there's hints and references to the older movies and stuff. So I could see the spider thing being a nod to that, cut scene definitely.
Yeah, which is another like I do I love the very minor I guess Kong fan service, even though it's not as probably obvious to us, but I do think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that, like you can see, and this, to go over the whole Legendary series in a sense, like how Kong grows and gets older, and his appearance changes. I didn't really realize how young he looks in this movie because, of course, I hadn't seen it since 2017.
Yeah.
But like how much older he looks now, it's it's pretty cool. Like he's got like his old man beard going on and stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't know. I really like this Kong that they've made.
Yeah, I think it's a very good iteration of the I guess of the character, if that's what you want to call it. Which that's what is really cool, is like it feels like more like a character, not like as juxtaposed to Godzilla being a force of nature.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's carried on throughout the series. Kong has had some pretty story-driven, moments in his continuation throughout the Legendary series. And I guess to go back to the cast for a second, kind of randomly, but we mentioned John C. Reilly earlier. I do definitely want to talk about him.
Oh yeah,
because his character is fantastic, and I think he's honestly he's a really fun actor. I really like John C. Reilly.
Yeah,
I like his character. I like how like funny he is, and like he's been on an island by himself, and not by himself, but for 28 years, I think is what he had said.
Yeah,
and he just has his little moments of kind of like, is he losing his mind? Has he lost his mind?
Oh yeah.
We're all gonna die together out here. You're a good group of boys to die with, I'll tell you that much. You should have come here.
But then he seems very put together at the same time too.
Oh, this is so this is where I initially called Samuel. I think literally the fight for MVP in this movie is John C. Reilly and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Because like they're both just playing their characters to the nth degree, right? I think John C. Reilly is hilarious. Of like, there is definitely a little bit of that heartbreak in there, and like it gets a little sad at times.
Yeah.
But then you get like that just clearly they would just let him go like improv. Like the funniest fucking thing in this movie to me is when they're in the forest and he's like, he's like, this stuff is messed up. He's like, you see that? He's like, there's ants that sound like birds. He goes, you hear that? That was a fucking ant. And it was hilarious. It kills me every time, because then you think about it like, then some poor sound designer had to take like probably like an hour out of his day to put in that bird sound, because John C. Reilly said that. Definitely, I think probably my favorite character in the movie overall, just because like from the moment he's in it, he's just hilarious.
Yeah.
And one thing I actually did that occurred to me this watch around, because this is the first time I've watched it since Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, and with the revelation of the Iwis like speaking telepathically, he has that line that's really interesting of like, well, you kind of just get used to it. I wonder if he doesn't realize that he's like, if he can telepathically communicate with them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Like,
I'd say that was kind of like a probably, because that seems very much like they just decided that in Godzilla X Kong.
It does.
Like, I gotta say this: the lore for the Legendary series is all over the fucking place. Because in this movie, Kong is a child, right? That's what they're saying. Like, he's like a little guy. But then in fucking Godzilla X Kong, they're like, well, this is a long time rivalry. These guys have been around forever. Which one is it? Because like they don't ever say in Godzilla versus future spoilers. We won't talk about that because we haven't talked about Godzilla versus Kong, Wyatt.
Right.
Shut your damn mouth.
Shut your mouth.
Your role.
Not a word. Not a word out of you.
But anyways, getting back to the and at this point, because I kind of want to give out a shout out specifically to the action, because we haven't really talked about it yet.
Yeah.
Of any scene of Kong fighting is just awesome. The way they like creatively, like, I guess, show his strength and still show his like his creativeness and his like ability to adapt. Of like, the squid fight was awesome, which was also really cool because the guy who played Chapman was also did the mocap for Kong in this movie. He also did mocap for Koba. A lot of people probably know this. He did the mocap for Koba in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, where he fights Caesar, who's Andy Serkis, who was King Kong, and Peter Jackson's King Kong. So there's a movie where King Kong fights King Kong. So that's kind of cool. Watching Kong in this one, and then seeing him like the introduction of the skull crawlers, describing how like kind of dastardly they are, like how nasty they are, but also getting to see Kong kill 2 of them just like it's nothing.
Yeah. The small ones he takes care of pretty easily, and it's a pretty cool dialogue scene when he's like talking about how Kong is God up here, but the devil still lives below us. And when he's saying that, it like does that whole like the camera shifts and those pillars come into view of the skull crawler thing.
The Iwis won't speak their name, but I call them skull crawlers. Why? Because it sounds neat.
I mean, I could totally see how people could not like the skull crawlers, like how they could think they're kind of boring. I mean, they're not a very interesting design, I guess, but I definitely like them more than the Mutos.
Yeah, I guess I would say they're on the same level. I can't say I have strong feelings. Same with the Mutos, I can't say I have strong feelings for them.
Right.
I think they're the perfect juxtaposition to Kong, I guess, that it's not fully like doing the same T-Rex fight that they've done before.
Right.
I don't know. I thought the skull and I guess the choreography of the fighting the skull crawlers was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they just work a little bit more for me. I don't know why. They feel like they could be in like a horror game or something. Just like their face is a little haunting.
Yeah.
So I like them quite a bit more than the Mutos, and I don't know why I hate the Mutos so much. But
I mean, I get it. I guess like I said, I don't have a strong feeling towards either of the skull crawlers or the Mutos.
Right.
And action, like with the action and everything, like there's so much that I feel like we're skipping over with this movie, and there's so much that we're like kind of running through because like again, like we haven't even talked about John Goodman, who I think does a really good job as like the kind of a little bit of a mad scientist who feels a little bit vindicated. You have Corey Hawkins, who plays Dr. Brooks, who a lot of people know as Dr. Dre. You actually have a reunion, by the way. You're not a fan of, you've never seen Straight Outta Compton, but you have an NWA reunion. Many people have kind of made a joke about this. Is the guy who Dr. Brooks also played Dr. Dre, and then the guy who played Eazy-E was the dude, like the guy who was obsessed with his mom.
Oh, okay.
That's Eazy-E from Straight Outta Compton. So you kind of got an NWA reunion there.
Cruising down the street in my 6'4".
Oh, shit. Hey, that was dope, eh?
You got the dude from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You also literally everybody in this movie is from somewhere else, and obviously because they're actors as a career, but like they're known for other roles. You have the villain from Fast and Furious getting ripped apart. And like this, there's so much we haven't covered, but like I guess really the one thing I wanted to take a moment to shout out is the final fight, or like that final, the final sequence that starts with like Samuel L. Jackson like lighting the water on fire and trying to like burn Kong alive. That was such a cool confrontation of then having like him almost doing it and then waking up like the big old skull crawler, and then we get the one mother,
the almost
fucker.
The tease of it.
Die, you motherfucker.
And the kill, and then like just the actual final fight with that skull crawler, like of Kong using like the chain, and then like the propeller, and then like just literally having like with Brie Larson, and Brie Larson being in this movie was pretty much worth it for the one of having Kong like have her in his hand, and still managing to dismember the skull crawler with her in his hand.
I guess my only question is like, how did he open up his hand and not lose her in him?
He didn't. So people have made this mistake. He never opened his hand up. If you pay attention, the tongue is wrapped around.
Oh,
inside,
is it?
So he shoves down, wraps it up, tangles it, and then pulls out. He never opens his hand. I've seen a lot of people have that question, and I've like paid attention to that scene to be like, how does he do it?
Yeah,
he doesn't ever open up his hand.
That makes sense.
And I mean, I guess, is there anything in that fight that you want to give a shout out to, or like?
Well, I definitely would like to, before I get into the fight, just kind of go back to like, yeah, I want to shout out John Goodman. Just again, I think he's a great actor, and I wish there was kind of like Serizawa. Like I wish there was more with him, just because I enjoy that character so much. But I think his character served his purpose in the movie, and that gave Dr. Brooks some more motivation to continue with Monarch and stuff. So that's fine. But yeah, the whole,
and I do like though that it played into the unpredictability of like who like anybody can fucking die. And that, because that very much is the theme of like literally I think I like at first it's like all these no name like army men and scientists like die, but then you start getting the named characters like
cool.
Coleman dies, you get I forget the dude, he's carrying the AK-47.
I forgot about that guy.
Smacked into the wall.
That guy is one. Oh, I can't believe I forgot about him, because I really enjoyed his dynamic with the younger guy.
Easy E.
Yeah, the younger guy. Yeah. But then, like, he has this, like, I'm going to make this, like, sacrifice, like, Billy from Predator and, like, make this whole big thing. And then
fighting. Just boom. Smack. And I love it. I love that it shows that the skull crawlers aren't just these little, these, like, I guess, feral creatures. Like, they have some, thought to them, and they have a thought, there's, like, thoughts, and, and I did also really like the scene kind of going back from the final fight, that skull crawler fight, and, like, among the dinosaur bones. And then you get the dude who's set up with the 50 cal on the Triceratops skull.
Yeah,
it's one of the coolest imageries. So cool. But led to my moment. I might start this as a segment. The stupidest moment in the movie. I don't know why it makes me laugh every time. I think it's so silly.
I think I know what you're talking about.
What do you think I'm talking about?
When Tom Hiddleston puts the gas mask on?
When he goes. Because that's what he does.
Yeah.
Like when Tom Hiddleston. So there's like this young soldier that I forget the name of, and I don't know the actor's name. So young guy who fights with John C. Reilly a lot. Like he's like knocked down or like about to die, and there's like these weird little death bats that are flying at him. That killed the bad guy from Fast and Furious 4. And Tom Hiddleston has this weirdly like kind of badass moment that he hasn't really exhibited at all in the movie.
Yeah.
Like being a badass, where he like puts on a gas mask and steals John C. Reilly's katana and like starts just like ninja chopping up all these different bats.
So goofy.
It was so goofy.
It's the one action scene in this movie that I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Just why?
Yeah, it does. It's such a like it. Every time I watch, it's the only scene that like I crack. It like that's not a John C. Reilly line. I crack up at every time I've watched this movie.
Maybe it was just like the director was like sitting at home one night and was like, it would be kind of metal. There was a gas mask scene with the sword and he's slicing up dinosaurs. Yes. Like, I have to put that in my movie.
Yeah,
that's how I don't know.
That's the only thing, because other than that, like, but that's probably my least favorite scene in the movie, if I'm being honest. And we'll move on from that. But yeah, like I said, kind of going through all the fights at once, I guess here. Like all of them are awesome. This is definitely, I think, if you're trying to have like a popcorn movie and that you're just like literally trying to be like a Friday night and you're trying to be entertained or have like a movie night.
Oh yeah.
This one's worth it. I think this one is just consistently entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
You never really like I said, every scene has a specific moment that you can talk about or that will take you off guard. And, stuff like that. So
yeah, it's a perfect Friday night popcorn movie. It's a great movie, but it's also good just to like hang out and watch and have fun with too. So that you don't got to take it more serious than what it is,
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so that's kind of it. I do apologize because like this video is definitely a lot less focused than maybe the other Godzilla movies so far, but just because we didn't want to spend as much time on this one, if we're being honest. We just kind of wanted to give this movie a shout out, talk about it a little bit, give our thoughts, because I know for me, I had one, I knew already I liked this movie and I know why
yeah.
And I guess are there any like final thoughts or anything else that you want
to? I guess final thoughts. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely watch it. I don't know why you would not have seen it and be this far into the review.
That's what I was thinking.
But if you haven't, go watch it. If you haven't seen it in a while, watch it again. It's a great movie. So
Absolutely, it's definitely. I would say objectively the best of the Legendary series.
yes,
It's not my favorite, but
objectively,
I can't argue it's the best one. And yeah, so with that, keep on the lookout. Like, we're probably gonna do more bonus videos like these if we come across a Godzilla movie that we think has a companion with it. For instance, kind of give you a heads up. Godzilla versus King Kong will probably cover the original King Kong movie. If I'm being honest, Godzilla versus Mothra, we're probably going to cover the original Mothra movie. But that's the only the hints I'm going to give you. There are other ones we'll cover throughout, but yeah, for now, I guess no ranking. I'm Corey.
I'm Wyatt.
You guys have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for watching.
Ants. Big ones. There's one. Sounds like a bird, but it's a fucking ant.
Now we're going to go ahead and open this. God damn it. All right.
This has to